Hey horror fans, welcome back to room 237, coming at you with kind of a random video, different one. I've participated in one of these before, but I've never actually come up with one of my own until today. So this is me sort of attempting, me trying to do one for the first time. That's a horror tag. Now for those that don't know, I'm going to explain this best I can. A horror tag video or a tag video, come up with a topic, you come up with your version of it, you tag one or a few people in it, and if they want to, they come up with their version of the topic, and so on and so on. Now, I've been tagged in one before, it's on my channel, that's the Disney horror tag. So I sort of had some time today to come up with one, and it's sort of two parts. It's coming up with your top 5 favorite horror protagonists. Easy enough. There's a twist. And the twist I will come up with after I give my top 5. Make sure this is loud enough. Yeah. So, I'm going to try to make this kind of short. I don't want this to be too long. So, yeah. Top 5 favorite horror protagonists. And it's across the board. I mean, why you think they're a great character, things you like about their character, performance can have a big thing to do with it. But they have to be strictly a protagonist. Like, for me, Norman Bates is one of my favorite movie characters of all time. But depending on the movie you're watching and how you look at it, it could be either protagonist or antagonist. He's one of the most famous horror villains of all time, so we're going to go antagonist. I mean, they can be morally ambiguous, sort of give that leeway, because I know at least one or two of mine are. So anyway, countdown of my favorite top 5 favorite horror protagonists. Now, number 5 was going to be a tie, or it was tough between, I was going to say who I was going to pick, because, I mean, I guess he's not the main protagonist, but I always thought of him as an equal third of the film. I was going to say Richard Dreyfuss as Cooper in Jaws, but, yeah, I guess it is, or even Brody in Jaws, but I guess it is more of Brody's movie. So I just went with someone else. Number 5, I chose Clarice Starling. Specifically Jodie Foster in Silence of the Lambs. She's just a hell of a strong character. I mean, this was a time where there wasn't a lot of strong female characters that weren't just final girls who either got lucky or did fight back. This was seriously taking women characters. I mean, I guess other than like Ellen Ripley. But I really liked her character. She's strong-willed, she's driven. It does sort of portray her as like a fish out of water, like a woman in a very man's world. But she never folds or gives up, she just goes through it. You also see a very a vulnerable side to her, like when she's giving her story about the lambs to Hannibal Lecter. And you can see all the layers as to why, like, you can tell this is a burden she's been trying to get off of her for some time. Maybe she's not ready. She's also doing it for the benefit of finding, Buffalo Bill's victim before she gets killed. And she never gives up at all. And by the end of the film, she's literally in the bowels of the beast down in Buffalo Bill's lair. And she's just I love the way Jodie Foster portrays her, just multi-layers, strong, vulnerable. Even sometimes where you kind of feel bad for her, like, when none of the men show her respect, like when she's telling all the officers to get out of the room so she can do her work. but I think she's a hell of a strong character. Sort of the more inspirational ones on this list. Number 4, chose for a completely different reason. Lionel from Dead Alive, or if you live in England, Brain Dead. Just, I like his arc. He's just this very pathetic, wimpy, spineless guy who's just driven by his mother. Huge mama's boy. Just can't cut the cord, can't live his own life. Can't even have a girlfriend he's interested in because of his mother. And then, he's just a total klutz and a fuck up. He just keeps messing up with all these, making this zombie issue even worse. And just by the end of the movie, he has that lawnmower and he's just like, party's over. He just cleans house. Well, he dirties it up more, but he cleans house of zombies. I love that arc. And he's just funny as hell. I can't remember the actor's name, but he plays him so well. I love watching that movie. I love every time he's on screen, he kills it. Number 3, this is probably the most heroic out of all of them. And I actually want to look up the guy's name because I used to know it on the top of my head, but now I can't. But number 3 is Ben from Night of the Living Dead, played by Dwayne Jones. Now, this is like a multi-layered one because it's not just the performance or what he does in the movie. It's when you consider the backstory of it. I mean, Night of the Living Dead came out in 1968, the height of the Civil Rights Movement. Not only was it completely crazy to star a black man as your lead in a movie, but not only that, but to just take one that just takes command of the situation. I mean, he takes it upon himself to board up the house and sort of protect this white woman, keep her in the loop even though she's hysterical. Pretty much tell this older white guy, Mr. Cooper, where the bear shits. Guy wants to command where everyone goes, and if he's going to go in the cellar, he deserves the radio. Ben tells him, I fought for this, I worked for it, I claimed it, you get your ass back in the cellar. He threatens him at many points. He beats up Mr. Cooper because he fucks up. There's a point where Barbara, played by Judith O'Dea, the white woman, she's in hysterics and this black guy slaps her out of it. I mean, for it to come out at that time, that was incredible. It took balls. But not only that, just, there's not really too many horror movies I can think of where, because horror movies, characters have to be written against logic. That's why the movie can happen. That's why people are yelling at the screens, like, don't do that, do this, don't go do that. He's really the only character I can think of where throughout the whole movie, you're just like, that's exactly what I would do. He's rational, he's logical, he takes command of a situation, he never breaks. And just, he's just a big, he's a strong, authoritative man that just takes control of the situation. And, for George Romero to make it a black guy at a time where that was unheard of, it just adds that other layer to it. And, spoiler, if you haven't seen it, if you think about it, he really does survive his ordeal. He survives the zombies, it's just the other part of the ending that sucks. He didn't count on that. So that's not really on him. But he does survive his planned ordeal, which was the zombies. And, you care for the guy so much. And you root for him the whole time because he is a smart, strong character. That when that ending happens, you're just kind of pissed. It is kind of a bummer of an ending. So Ben from Night of the Living Dead, the original, I mean, Tony Todd plays him all right in the 1990 remake, but Dwayne Jones plays him great. Plays him greatly. Number 2, that's easy. Herbert West. Herbert West. Played by Jeffrey Combs in Reanimator. This guy who's super smart for his age. He can create the serum that can reanimate the dead. And to him, everything is just work. Like, crazy shit's going on around him. Bodies coming back to life. Crazy shit happening. And he's just treating it all like a science experiment. He's just completely dry. Especially when he has to take that little radial saw and just go through the chest from behind that one zombie. He does deliver some comedy lines, like when Dan has to sneak him into the morgue and Dan's talking to the guard like, dead meatball here. Then when they get in, Herbert West is like, meatball? Or when he's talking to Dr. Hill, who's just ahead, and he's like, get yourself a job at a sideshow. And Jeffrey Combs, he's very stone-faced, but he also hams it up. Which is the only way you can play a character like that, just to ham it up. And just, he's another captivating guy, sort of like Lionel, who just, he commands the screen, and he's just a joy to watch. My number 1 is, was there any guess? Ashley Joanna Williams, a.k.a. Ash from the Evil Dead movies. Particularly Evil Dead 2. Now, played by Bruce Campbell, of course. Now, he has an arc, too. Evil Dead, he's the everyman who more or less gets lucky and lives till the end. Evil Dead 2, he gets the shit beat out of him, even by himself. He's clumsy, he's just bad luck guy. But then once he takes control and he makes his chainsaw arm, he just does that groovy. My favorite scene is when everything is trying to make him snap. Everything's laughing at him. And he just turns his head and he's up close to the camera and he just starts cackling and laughing. Then by Army of Darkness, he's just full on, schmucky hero, comedy guy. The unlikely hero. Ash versus Evil Dead, he's a fuck up, he's an idiot, he's a buffoon, he's a schmuck. He just, happens by luck and chance to be the prophecy, the chosen one. But he does it with such pizzazz and swag and confidence. It's just, he almost has like that Leslie Nielsen kind of quality, just where he's really stupid and not fully competent, but he just has that confidence that just, can make anybody like him. I could go on all day about Ash, but I'm already 13 minutes in. I gotta do the other half of this. So the twist to this, now you picked your top 5 favorite horror protagonists, but here's the twist. You could pluck them out of any movie and put them into another one that would still make sense. Even if it only makes sense to you, what would it be? Now for Clarice, this is probably the most boring I picked, but I put her in like Halloween. Maybe like if she's riding around with Dr. Loomis throughout the whole thing, sort of helping create, understanding the profile of Michael Myers, and then she finds out there isn't one, he's just pure evil. Not the best one, but that's what I have for that. For Lionel, it's sort of a tie. One I don't really want to say because the actual film I'm a huge fan of. The other one, if it was just him, I could see it working. I was going to say either David Cronenberg's The Fly or a movie like Cabin Fever, but where it's just him. Like, because you look at all the feeble attempts he tries to hide the zombies to where it's just ridiculous and silly. What if he had this skin-eating disease or was turning into a fly and just body parts are falling off? How is he going to comedically hide that to his girlfriend. I just, I just think that would be hilarious. Ben, now, because he's the only level-headed one in Night of the Living Dead. I mean, Barbara's hysterical, Cooper's a hothead and narcissistic and full of himself. And he has to deal with it. I said, what if he was in Return of the Living Dead? Like, he's trying to deal with Frank and Freddy, who is just crying and in hysterics and can't get shit done. And then just when he thinks he has it under control, all these punks come in and just further stress him out. Herbert West, I chose Day of the Dead. Maybe he's with Dr. Logan, helping him. His serum doesn't matter because zombies are now everywhere. But now he has to train them. He has to train Bub. And, like the way Dr. Logan talks back to Captain Rhodes, I would love to see sort of the snarky, yet over-the-top, hammy comebacks Herbert West would make to Rhodes and just how Rhodes would react to that. And then number one, no-brainer, Ash and Dawn of the Dead. Let him loosen them all. Let him go through all the stores, the hardware stores, sporting goods, just let him go hog wild, see what he can do. And not only that, see how he would defend himself against a biker gang. But also stay true to the character. I'm sure the bikers would probably kick his ass quite a bit. But, like he walks into the hardware store and he just sees the wall of chainsaws and it's like the Jurassic Park theme. But, I mean, with Ash vs. Evil Dead, he did own his own hardware store. We kind of seen him in many different settings. But, yeah, I'm all stuffed up now. But, that was the best I could think of. Dawn of the Dead, it's a mall. Let him run amok. So, yeah, I went through that kind of quickly. I didn't want this video to be that long. But yeah, I know it's probably not the most amusing or funny or interesting tag video out there. It was the first one I ever came up with. Give me a break. But, and it's okay if your top 5 is the same as mine, even the same order. I guess just to make it a little more challenging, you can't pick the same movie. Just add a bit more of a challenge, make it more interesting. So now to tag people, of course, I'm going to tag Random Horror, and I'm going to tag my friend Hellhound at Horror Metal. Now, of course, you guys don't have to do it, but, if you're interested, I'd love to see what you can come up with. And anyone else who's watching, feel free to make your own video, or just let me know in the comments what you think of this, or your own original ideas. But I hope you enjoyed this. I hope to see what you guys come up with. So yeah, that was my first tag video. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.